Alright, so for this video, I'm going to be talking about the insect strategy for the new Forest Alpine expansion. Now, this replaces the butterfly strategy. It's still the butterfly strategy. Don't get me wrong, this is still the butterfly strategy, but it's an addition to a bunch of other insects as well to make the butterfly strategy a little bit stronger. But once again, this butterfly strategy isn't very strong on its own. So you're going to want to do this strategy probably with the big forest strategy or the flora strategy. Now, the big forest strategy and the flora strategy are basically the same strategy. So I'm only going to be talking about the flora strategy in a future video because that is sort of a new idea. Not super new, but it is definitely much more powerful than it used to be. And the big forest strategy is just getting a ton of trees anyways, while the flora strategy is going to be more centered around making sure you get a large variety of different trees. But let's talk about the insect strategy for this video, and then in the next video I'll talk about the flora strategy, which, like I said, is the basic same thing as the big forest one. So one of the best cards that will work well with the butterfly strategy, or should I say the insect strategy, is this penny bun here, because it's going to give you a card every time you play a card on top of a tree, and you're going to be playing a lot of cards on top of trees in this strategy. So if you can get yourself the penny bun right off the bat, then that's a great first card to play after, of course, you play a tree. There's not a huge amount of trees that works extremely well with this strategy, but like I said, that's why the big forest strategy is a good one to play with this one, because you're going to need a lot of trees. Okay, so obviously with the insect strategy, the butterflies are the big deal here. Now, normally, you would have to get all 5 different butterflies just to score 20 points. But here's the cool thing. Now, with the Forest Alpine expansion, we have a new butterfly, the Phoebus Apollo. Now, you'll notice it adds another number. It adds 6, and even says it here. And it adds 15 more points. So instead of 20 points, if you have all 6 butterflies, you get 35 points. 15 more points than you would have used to. So that's still hard to do, potentially, right? To get all 6, potentially. But it's not impossible. It's actually not super hard. But the point is, that's going to give you a lot more points. And so the butterfly strategy, or should I say insect strategy, is not, while it's not super powerful, it's still a good strategy to work with another one for sure. Like I said, big forest. But yeah, 35 points, that's amazing. That's a lot more points for sure. And then, because, butterflies are free to play, the mole is always going to be a good card to play before you play a bunch of butterflies. So you can play them all in one turn, so you're not wasting a bunch of turns playing butterflies if you can manage to get the mole, okay? So that's another good card. Then, of course, because you want to score as many points off of your butterflies as you possibly can, the hedgehog is another good card you're going to want to try to get, so you can score 2 points for every butterfly you have. Now, of course, if you can get more sets of butterflies, so you can have more than one set of butterflies, that means I could have 2 of these, and I could have 2 sets of butterflies and score some additional points that way. That's gonna make your hedgehog even more useful. Now, remember, all butterflies are also insects. That's why this is the insect strategy. And the bullfinch is going to give you 2 points for every insect you have. So hey, butterflies are insects, so you're getting 2 extra points if you can get some bullfinches as well. But remember, that means it has to share space with those butterflies. But still, you might have some space for a bullfinch here or there. So yes, the bullfinch is another good card that's going to help with score you a lot of additional points if you're going to play a lot of butterflies. But there's still one more. So the bullfinch and the hedgehog will score you a lot of points. But this Ganetian, which comes with the Forest Alpine expansion, is going to score you 3 points. That's even better than the hedgehog for each butterfly you have. Not only that, but it lets you play a butterfly for free. So hey, if you're having a hard time getting that mole, or so-and-so decided to play that mole earlier with his paw strategy, and you're like, darn, I'm never going to get the mole. Well, don't fret, because these Ganetians let you play a butterfly for free, and there's 3 of them, and they're worth 3 points for each. So if you can get a couple of these, even better, right? It's definitely a little bit easier to get, maybe, than the hedgehog, because there's only 3 hedgehogs, and then there's 3 Ganetians. So this triples your chances of getting cards that give you points for butterflies. Now, once again, this bullfinch is still really good because there's 4 of these, right? And they're giving you 2 points, but you're also going to get points for all your other insects as well. So the bullfinch might even be better than the hedgehog. With that said, you also want to try to play insects for free too. So like, for instance, this alpine newt, which is also with the alpine expansion, if you can satisfy its binocular ability, not only do you get to play an alpine card for free, you also get to play an insect for free. That insect could be this butterfly, okay? The alpine card could be this butterfly. So there's some ideas there. Of course, that insect could just be simply another butterfly. But that insect could also be fireflies. So this strategy means you might want to try to get some of the fireflies too, because they're worth some points. The first one isn't worth anything, but if you get 2 of them, that's 10 points. So that's not bad for something you can play for free, but if you can play it at the same time as when you play the alpine newt here for free, even better, right? So the firefly is another strong idea with the insect strategy. You might want to try to get some of these if you possibly can. Most likely, you might be able to get a couple of them. The wood ant is another good one because it's an insect, and you could play that for free. And if you are going this route, like I said, you might have some cards below your trees. You might have this mole. You might have the hedgehog. You might have a Ganetian or 2, all right? You might have a newt, all right? You might have some fireflies. And so that wood ant could potentially get you a lot of points as well. So that's another good card that would work well with the insect strategy. Now, with that said, the alpine newt, so let's get back to the alpine newt here. The alpine newt also scores you 2 points for every insect you have. So hey, every butterfly you have, this is giving you 2 more points. So this is even better. You have so many more new ways to score based on your butterflies and insects, right? We have 2 new cards that score you. So we have 4 now. 4 cards that score you for insects, and 2 cards that score you for all your butterflies. So man, that's amazing, right? So now the butterfly strategy, or should I say, the insect strategy, is a little better than it used to be. Definitely is, especially since you can get more points with your butterflies. 35 now, potentially, instead of 20. So yes, the insect strategy is a little better than it used to be in just the base game. Now, with that said, what other cards could you potentially play for free with the alpine newt? You could play this Chamois, because you want to try to get a well-rounded forest, right? So this Chamois here, you could play it for free because it's an alpine card, and if you are going the butterfly route, or should I say the insect route, if you're going with this strategy, the European larch, this tree here, is a good card to play because it's cheap. Okay, it's cheap. You can play an alpine card for free. Like I said, we've talked about some of the alpine cards already for this strategy that you could potentially play for free, and it's worth 3 points. That's nice. Some of the other trees are only worth 1, especially if you only have 1 of them, right? And some of them aren't worth anything unless you satisfy their needs. So this is just a good tree all around. It's cheap, it's worth points, and like I said, you need to play a lot of trees. So if you can play a lot of these European larches with this strategy, and maybe get yourself a Chamois, because it's going to be worth points for every of these leaves you have. And remember, some of the other alpine cards you're playing might have that leaf on them. This butterfly does, for instance. So you might get more points additionally with that. So that's basically it for this strategy. Now, if you do end up playing a lot of alpine cards, you might And you do get this black trumpet here. You might be tempted to play that for some additional cards that way as well for some of the alpine cards you're playing, because there's a few alpine cards that work with it well with the strategy. Like I said, there's, for instance, this tree. So that's an alpine card. You could get that mushroom to give you some extra cards. The chamois, for instance, this alpine newt, and this butterfly, for instance, the Ganetian here. So there's more than a few cards here that work with this strategy that you might be playing with the insect strategy. And so if you don't get that penny bun, the black trumpet might be a good second card to go for. If you can't get this guy, this might be a good second card to play underneath your tree. So that's it for this strategy. Like I said, this strategy is not super powerful. It's more powerful than it used to be, but you're definitely gonna want to go with the big forest strategy or the flora strategy, which will be the next video. See you guys in the next video.